You carry in your tissue a story you no longer need to live. There is a pain that persists in the clenched jaw, the constant tightness in the solar plexus, the hip that never releases, and it may not even be yours. In just a few minutes, you will learn how 3 guided touches can dissolve inherited imprints stored in the fascia, bringing your body back into its natural alignment. The fascia is the connecting tissue that keeps protective reflexes active, even decades after the threat has passed, limiting movement, emotion, and presence. When you understand where these threads of tension begin and how they spread, symptoms that once felt permanent become changeable. Those who cannot pinpoint the exact place where the pain is stuck will keep carrying what never truly belonged to them, repeating patterns passed down by those who came before. What is about to be revealed cannot be found anywhere else with this level of clarity, and the opportunity to reclaim your body as your own territory is here, right now. This imprint does not live in your conscious memory. It lives in the geometry of your body. The fascia is a continuous, sensitive network that surrounds muscles, organs, and bones. When the state of defense becomes chronic, it shrinks, sticks, and restricts. What began as protection turns into a prison, a contraction that does not release, a posture that does not relax, a breath that does not reach the lower belly. Inherited trauma settles this way, not as a story, but as a physical pattern passed down by those who lived before you. In Hermetic tradition, form follows vibration. Old tension keeps vibrating in the tissue, even when the threat disappeared generations ago. Your body holds on to a response that once saved someone. Maybe you, maybe someone you never knew, but here is the promise. When you release the imprint in the tissue and signal safety to your system, the transformation can be felt. Spontaneous sighs, increased saliva, gentle warmth, a breath that finally reaches the lower abdomen. What you are about to learn does not require reliving the story. It requires deactivating the code imprinted in the fascia, and this happens through 3 specific pathways that, once released, bring the body back to the present moment. The hidden root of this change lies deeper than any technique, and that is exactly where we are going next. Body alchemy traditions in ancient Egypt and tantric systems had already mapped the fascia as a channel for transmutation, the place where what the soul could not process remained trapped until it could be released through the body. These teachings were not symbolic, they were physiological. The body holds what cannot be said, and releasing the imprint from the tissue allows the trapped emotion to finally move. What once seemed mystical was actually applied knowledge of living matter. Modern epigenetics shows that states of threat can be passed down through generations, not as a memory you can recall, but as a pattern of response inscribed in the nervous system. Polyvagal theory explains why the body stays in defense, even when your mind insists that you are safe. The vagus nerve works as a safety antenna, reading signals from the tissue before any mental interpretation can happen. As long as the fascia holds chronic tension, the brain keeps receiving the message that the danger is still present. Under prolonged fear, the interstitial gel that surrounds the fascia hardens, restricting the glide between fibers and trapping the body in a geometry of protection. This is not a poetic image. It is altered viscosity, activated myofascial contractility, and restricted movement. When you touch these pathways with clear intention, the tissue receives a different signal, safety, and then what was stuck begins to release. 3 specific regions concentrate this inherited tension more intensely. They are defense portals that block the flow of energy, emotion, and movement. These pathways were not chosen at random. They are points of high neural and fascial density, where anatomy meets somatic memory. When the fascia sticks in these areas, the body gets locked in a fixed posture of alert, operating as if the danger was still present. Releasing these pathways deactivates the defense code in the tissue and allows the nervous system to finally register safety. The first pathway lies in the jaw and at the base of the tongue. This is where the body holds back tears that never got to flow, tightens the voice that had to stay silent, and blocks the upper breath before it can reach the throat. Chronically contracted supraoid and masseter muscles sustain an invisible brake that prevents the breath from descending and expression from emerging. Every time you swallow your words, clench your teeth in your sleep, or wake up with a stiff jaw, you are feeling this pathway activated. The tension here did not necessarily start with you. It may have been passed down from someone who had to stay silent to survive, from someone who held fear in their mouth for far too long. The second pathway is in the diaphragm and around the rib border, the vital center where the breath gets stuck when fear lingers. This is the territory of the solar plexus, where unprocessed emotions press against the organs, restrict thoracic expansion, and freeze the mid-breath when the diaphragm does not move freely. The body interprets that it is still under threat, because a full breath only happens in a state of safety. The constant tightness in the chest, the heaviness in the stomach, the exhaustion that does not go away even after resting, all these are signs that the second pathway remains blocked. The fascia around the lower ribs hardens, sticks, and holds the chest in a fixed defensive posture. The third pathway lies in the hips and the inguinal fold, the base where discharge should happen but does not. When the tension does not descend to the feet, it accumulates in the psoas, the iliacus, and the pelvic floor, preventing grounding and the safe release of activation. This is the deepest portal where the body should release excess adrenaline, where trapped energy needs to find a downward exit. Rigidity in the pelvic region, difficulty fully relaxing during sleep, the feeling of being constantly suspended and unable to land. These are all signs that the third pathway is blocked. Contracted fascia in the inguinal region prevents the body from completing the defense cycle, keeping you in a permanent state of readiness that never resolves. These three pathways form a release axis when you touch the jaw, the diaphragm, and the hips with precise intention. You are signaling to the nervous system that the threat is gone. The science of tensegrity explains why this works. The body is an interconnected web where each point of tension affects the whole. Releasing one pathway begins to reorganize the others. And the method to do this does not require force. It requires time, gentle pressure, and a clear signal of safety that the tissue can recognize. Releasing the fascia does not happen through force. It happens through time, intention, and a slow dialogue with the tissue. Instinct pushes you to press harder, massage faster, or force an immediate change. But fascia is viscoelastic. It responds to sustained pressure, not impact. When you speed up or increase intensity, the body interprets it as an invasion and activates a protective reflex, tightening even more. What you need is the opposite: to touch gently, stay present, and give time for the interstitial gel to change its viscosity, allowing the collagen fibers to glide back into place. The protocol has three elements that work together to create real somatic release. The first is gentle, sustained pressure, applied for 60 to 90 seconds on each pathway. It is not about pushing or sinking. It is about placing your hand or fingers with steady presence, as if offering a support point to the tissue. This constant pressure shifts the viscosity of the gel that surrounds the fascia, allowing adhesions to begin to release without triggering resistance. The tissue needs to feel that it can let go safely. The second element is micro-oscillating movements, minimal oscillations of 2 to 3 millimeters, slow, rhythmic, and almost imperceptible. These movements loosen the adhesions between fascial layers without activating the mechanoreceptors that trigger the defense reflex. This is not massage, not friction. It is a subtle vibration that invites the tissue to reorganize. Imagine helping a stuck door find the right alignment. You do not force it, you adjust until it slides on its own. The third element is prolonged exhalation in a 4-8 rhythm. 4 counts of inhaling through the nose, 8 counts of exhaling through the mouth. This specific pattern activates the ventral branch of the vagus nerve, reduces circulating cortisol and signals to the autonomic nervous system that the threat has ended. Long exhalation is the somatic code for safety when you maintain it while touching the pathways. You are telling the body it can let go because there is no more danger. The breath becomes a bridge between intention and physiology. When all 3 elements come together, gentle pressure, micro-movement, and prolonged exhalation, the somatic response is immediate and tangible. Spontaneous sighs rising without your control, saliva increasing all of a sudden, gentle warmth in your limbs, a breath that finally reaches the lower belly, a feeling of weight redistributing into your feet. These signals do not lie. They are physiological markers that the nervous system has shifted states. You do not have to believe it. The body shows you. But if nothing shows up right away, the body is asking for titration. Less stimulation, not more. Intelligent protection needs extra time before it can let go. In this case, reduce the pressure and simply maintain gentle contact with your hand resting on the pathway. Continue the long exhalation for a few more cycles. Do not force a release. Offer safety until the tissue understands it can let go without risk. Release is not something you conquer. It is permission the body grants itself when it finally trusts. What comes next is the guided application: where to touch, how to touch, and what to observe in each pathway. The first touch is on the jaw and at the base of the tongue. Sit comfortably with your spine upright and place your index and middle fingers from both hands just below your chin on the center line where the tongue is anchored. Gently press upward, as if offering support to the base of the tongue without applying force. Begin soft side-side micromovements, minimal oscillations, almost imperceptible. Start the 4-8 breath. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 8. Maintain this for 60 to 90 seconds. The signals come quickly. Salivation increases suddenly. The mouth becomes more moist. A sigh rises spontaneously without your control. The jaw softens, loses its rigidity, and you feel you can open your mouth without effort. If nothing happens within the first 30 seconds, reduce the pressure by half and continue the long exhalation. The body is asking for more time before releasing. Do not force it. Offer presence until the tissue lets go. The second touch moves to the diaphragm and the rib border. Place your open hands on the edges of your lower ribs, fingers pointing downward and slightly inward, as if holding the base of your rib cage. Apply gentle inward and downward pressure, following the natural movement of exhalation. Breathe deeply, keeping the exhale long. Feel your ribs expanding beneath your hands as you inhale and dropping as you exhale. Maintain for 60 to 90 seconds, keeping a steady rhythm. The change is noticeable. Your breath shifts, it moves out of the chest and reaches the lower belly. Gentle warmth appears around the sternum, as if something had just decompressed. The tightness in the solar plexus eases. That constant pressure you've been carrying between your ribs begins to dissolve. If the relief does not come immediately, keep your hands in place with soft containment, without pressing, and extend the exhalation for a few more cycles. The diaphragm needs to register safety before it can fully release. The third touch moves to the hips and the inguinal fold. Lie down or sit with your legs slightly apart. Place your index and middle fingers on the inguinal fold, the line where the abdomen meets the thigh on each side. Apply light downward pressure, as if helping the tension move down through the body. Add micro-oscillations, minimal, rhythmic movements, in sync with the long 4 to 8 exhalation. Stay here for 60 to 90 seconds on each side. The shift happens at the base. The weight redistributes into your feet. Even while lying down, you feel the connection to the ground deepen. The psoas area relaxes that deep tension at the front of your hips. You did not even know you were holding. A sense of grounding settles in, as if you had finally landed in your own body. If the release does not come, continue the prolonged exhalation and reduce the stimulus. Just gentle containment, no movement, until the body allows the discharge. These signals are clear and measurable. There is no room for doubt. The body shows when it has let go. After completing the 3 touches, take time to integrate the shift. Drink water slowly, walk a few gentle steps, write down 3 signs you noticed during the practice. In just a few minutes, you released imprints that had been held in your tissue for decades. Repeat this sequence for 3 consecutive days, and the new pattern settles in. The fascia learns it can stay soft, that it no longer needs to hold onto old defenses. The body becomes yours again. Sharon was 59 years old when she realized her clenched jaw was not entirely hers. She worked as an administrative assistant at a clinic, lived alone after her divorce, and spent her days managing other people's schedules while her own body held on to a tension that no cognitive therapy could reach. Tightness in her chest, light insomnia, irritability triggered by small things, symptoms she had attributed to menopause and stress, but that persisted even during quiet weekends. Until one day, a colleague noticed the constant tension in Sharon's shoulders and sent her a video about fascia and inherited memory. She watched it that evening, and something in the explanation about the 3 defense pathways made instant sense. She recognized every symptom described, as if someone had mapped her own body. She decided to try the protocol. She sat on the couch, placed her fingers under the base of her tongue just like she had seen in the video, and held light pressure while exhaling slowly in the 4 to 8 rhythm. For the first 30 seconds, nothing. Then, without warning, her jaw softened, and a sigh rose from deep in her chest. Deep, involuntary, as if something old had finally found a way out. She moved on to the second touch, hands on her lower ribs. The tightness in her plexus eased, gentle warmth spread across her sternum, and her breath reached the lower belly for the first time in decades. With the third touch, on the inguinal fold, her body finally landed. Weight in her feet, true grounding. In just 3 days of repetition, patterns held for decades began to release. Her jaw stopped locking during sleep. The tightness in her chest dissolved for no apparent reason, and emotions began to flow without that shapeless heaviness she had carried like a second skin. Sharon did not need to relive any story. She did not need to name the pain. She simply released the imprint from her tissue and returned to the field what was never hers to carry. Her body regained its range. Her life regained its lightness. What changed in this story does not disappear on its own. It needs to be anchored in the body so the old pattern does not return out of habit. The physical marker that confirms integration is traceable. Breath that reaches the lower belly without effort. A relaxed jaw upon waking. A softer solar plexus throughout the day. Weight evenly distributed in your feet when you stand. These signs show that the nervous system has shifted states and the tissue has learned safety. To anchor this shift, create a signal gesture that you repeat for 30 to 60 seconds whenever you feel your body starting to contract again. Place your right hand on your sternum with gentle pressure and begin the 4 to 8 breath. At the same time, with your left hand, apply micro pressure on the inguinal fold on the same side. This gesture reactivates the release axis and reminds the body it can stay soft. The point of return is simple. When you feel the tension coming back, stop wherever you are. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Release your shoulders and say internally, "My body is my territory." Breathe deeply in the 4 to 8 rhythm for 3 full cycles. This sequence, the phrase, the breath, the posture, brings back the state of safety and prevents the tissue from returning to its defensive geometry. This is not overcoming, it is sealing. Now that the imprint has been released and the body is anchored, what remains is understanding what this means for your entire life. Inherited pain never lived in the story. It lived in the tissue, stuck in pathways you did not even know were locked. Releasing the fascia is not the work of memory. It is the work of matter. It is removing what was imprinted, deactivating the defense code, and bringing the body back to the present moment. You no longer carry what belongs to those who came before you. What once echoed becomes silence. What once imprisoned becomes space. Hildegard von Bingen, a 12th century mystic, wrote in her theological texts that the body is not the soul's prison, but its living expression, the form through which spirit inhabits matter. When you treat tissue as sacred code, when you touch the defense pathways with intention and time, you are honoring that truth. You are telling the body it can finally rest, that it no longer needs to hold on to old alarms. God did not give you a body to carry someone else's pain. He gave it to you so you could fully inhabit your own life, without a legacy that does not belong to you. What happened here was not a technique. It was a return. You learned that true release happens when the tissue learns safety, when the fascia receives the signal that it can let go because the threat is gone. And now you have the map, 3 pathways, 3 touches, a protocol that takes just minutes but rewrites decades. Each time you apply it, you are rewriting the pattern. Each time you anchor the shift, you are sealing a new state into the body. When the tissue learns safety, the past loses its hold. What remains is you, whole, in the present moment, no longer carrying a story you did not live, no longer operating from a defense that once saved someone, but was never yours to hold. The body becomes a temple again. Life becomes yours again. And everything you needed for that was always here, waiting for you to touch the right place, in the right way, at the right time. If this content resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It helps us expand this field of knowledge and reach those who need to reclaim their body as their own territory. I want to know how you felt the release in the pathways we touched today. Write in the comments, "I release inherited trauma and let go of what is not mine." This affirmation seals your presence on the path of somatic transformation. Share this video with someone you know who is carrying pain that does not belong to them. Sometimes, what we need most is to remember that we can return to the field what was never ours to hold. And do not stop here. Click the screen and dive into another powerful video on the channel. Every practice you learn brings you closer to a body that responds to the present, not the past. And remember, tissue holds as long as there is threat, but it releases when it finally recognizes safety. You have just learned the language the body understands. Use it with reverence.